Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. We're talking AEW All In from Wembley Stadium, a new record set in professional wrestling live attendance, and a new tradition for AEW. It was announced that it's returning in 2024 back at Wembley.
Yeah.
This was a wildly successful show. Creatively speaking, I thought there was a lot to like about All In. I thought the show, we often complain, a lot of people often complain about the pacing of these 4 to 5 hour shows sometimes, if you count the 0 hour, and there were 2 matches in the 0 hour today. There were some quibbles with it, but it seemed like they were looking to tell stories that leading into All Out, but also play out stories for All In. Mm-hmm. The headline story, Adam Cole versus MJF, looks to continue as the Wembley crowd went home happy. Yeah. MJF retains, but both men proved that their foundation for now is solid. Larson, what'd you think about that main event?
It was a pretty solid, like the show as a whole, I would describe as good and very solid. They advanced stories. We didn't really get that one OMG moment, you know? Like I thought we might have got at the end of the show, like with Adam Cole turning or something like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That really put a stamp on this show as one that people are going to remember for a long, long time from a storyline perspective. All told, though, it's a really solid show. The story of the main event was who is going to be able to take it upon themselves to cheat, essentially, to win the match. And neither of them could do it. Adam Cole throughout showed more of a proclivity to go into lengths that MJF wasn't willing to do. Neither of them could bring themselves to cheat. MJF teased a Dynamite Diamond ring, couldn't bring himself to use it. There's an opportunity for Adam Cole to hit MJF with the world title. Couldn't bring himself to do it. In the end, MJF wins with a roll-up and says to Adam Cole, who's upset in the corner, I got lucky. I lucked into that win. So it's a finish that motivates potentially another match. Since, the idea is you need to hit your finisher to get a decisive victory in the world of pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. Decisive and conclusive. So if they want to do another match at All Out, and if Adam Cole at that point, or MJF for that matter, if either of them realizes, all right, I can't just, if I want to win or keep this, I have to go to lengths that make me uncomfortable, either to inflict that kind of punishment on my friend or friendship's out the window. Title's the thing that's most important.
Well, let me ask you this. Given that in the lead up to this, we had speculated, or our line of thought seemed to be, look, you've done all the vignettes. You've given the crowd what they wanted to see these guys together. And there are parallels in terms of knowing when to pull the trigger at the right time. That's a tricky thing. And there's endless debate about the bloodline and whether or not that's gone on too long, if Cody should have won, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a debate that, we've talked about endlessly. In this case, our speculation was Cole's going to turn on MJF because MJF is at his most vulnerable right now.
Yes.
And Cole is going to go back to his ways of being a piece of crap. MJF has sort of inadvertently shown him the light in that respect. They didn't pull the trigger on that now. I thought the actual booking of the match was so damn good and leaving us in a spot where, goddamn, I do want to know what happens next. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing what kind of tension builds between these two, because eventually we all know the title is going to get between them and Cole is going to get that title. Yeah. I don't know that it's going to happen as early as next week. Doesn't there have to be a renewed honeymoon period between these two after this huge finish at Wembley? I mean, I could see them almost making the Ring of Honor tag titles because it's them. Be the next thing, and
that's entirely possible.
And maybe they defend those at All Out, and Punk takes center stage defending his Real World's title because they're in
Yeah.
Chicago. And that will segue us into, will CM Punk be there at All Out? Because there's been yet another backstage incident, a physical altercation, although this one might be a bit more...
Maybe, depending. There's varying accounts already. So last match of 0 Hour, pre-show. Hook defeated Jack Perry to regain the FTW title. During the match, they start out the match wrestling around on a limousine. And at one point, Jack Perry is trying to suplex Hook on the windshield and looks at the camera and says, "Real glass, cry me a river." Referring to reports that there was a bit of a conversation, argument, who knows the exact nature of it, where Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, was insistent on doing some sort of spot with Real Glass. Shivani, others in management advised him not to do it, and they had CM Punk talk to him about it. And apparently, this is from Fightful Select, reportedly Perry was upset that, or in his mind, Punk's camp released that information to the wrestling press and decided to take that little jab at him. Well, the first match of the main card was Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. So apparently, as Jack Perry was going back to, I think they call it Mongo position in AEW, gorilla position in AEW, the backstage area right after you go through the curtain. That there was another altercation. Again, the information differs. There's some information that says that Jack Perry stepped up to Punk.
So, okay, I'll get the Fightful Select report now. And here's the thing about Fightful Select. Whenever there's something that's this fresh, we like to give them an extra shout out because Sean really does terrific work there.
He does.
And we've always said that Fightful Select is a terrific subscription.
Absolutely. It's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
So, but this is kind of a big deal. I want to make sure we get it right here. According to Fightful Select, they have learned at least one side of the story, which claims that Jack Perry approached CM Punk backstage and, quote, stepped in his face and bumped Punk. Punk was said to have then pushed Perry. Perry allegedly came at Punk and got choked. We haven't heard of a particular kind of choke or who broke things up. Please note this is only one side of the story and more details will emerge. It continues. Miro has claimed the story, quote, was fake and untrue, and other versions allege that Punk threw a punch and that Punk stepped to Perry first. PW Insider had reported that Jack Perry was sent away from the venue while CM Punk was still at Wembley. Sean also just tweeted out
the one 30 minutes ago about having more information from the other side.
No, yeah. Well, a minute ago, he says, I think we've heard the extent. So somebody asked any update on Punk's situation. I have a feeling we could be headed for a brawl in. Sean says, I think we've heard the extent of it from Punk's side. I'm getting details from others as we speak. So this is an ongoing situation.
Yes.
Unknown how this is going to play out. If it's going to look good for Punk, bad for Punk, good for Perry, bad for Perry. If it's just one of those things. But certainly we've got a Chicago show coming up where everybody's going to be in the same building next week. It's entirely likely Perry's not going to be there, but, man, I don't know. If Perry is, it's one thing. It's kind of like the Andrade Sammy situation from a while ago, where it seemed like Andrade was intentionally trying to stir the pot by getting up in Sammy's face, a guy who had been, in a little bit of trouble, and Sammy didn't bite, and nothing really came of it beyond Andrade getting sent home for a while. So unknown how this is all going to play out. I know that the media scrum is happening here in just a moment, from what I understand. Unknown how any of that is going to play out, and I hesitate to put it on anybody's side. It's easy to say, well, Punk's involved in another thing. Well, if somebody steps to a person, then I don't, and instigates something physically, if that's what happened, it's difficult to be like, this guy shouldn't defend himself. I would never say that at all. This is just sort of, I guess, one of the unfortunate side effects of not directly addressing personality issues the way Tony Khan has basically avoided addressing personality issues. He says, well, people aren't going to like each other backstage. That's what it is. Well, you basically put a guy on his own show to keep him away from other people, which is kind of a couple steps above. And again, even if this incident isn't Punk's, it sort of speaks to the lack of leadership on Tony Khan's part that this kind of thing would happen backstage.
Well, I mean, and also considering, I know Punk was out for a while, but that was because of injury.
Mm-hmm,
we don't know if he faced any disciplinary action for his comments at the all-out scrum last year or the fight itself. We don't know. I would guess based on what we've heard since then, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
And so you run the risk of indirectly creating an atmosphere where people feel like they could do this kind of stuff and get away with it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like even apparently Ace Steel, he was let go. He was brought back. And apparently I apologize, I don't recall the source. I remember reading it. Was reportedly given back pay when he was fired.
Yeah.
He bit somebody.
Yeah.
Through a chair.
Yeah.
Reportedly. So you add that on top of, well, some people don't get along. It's okay for people not to get along, but they should be able to sit down in a room and talk things out.
Well,
I don't think anybody's saying Punk and the Elite, you have to be friends now. No one's saying that.
Just like Eddie said in that kayfabe show, All Access, but he was right. He told Sammy, we don't have to get along. We just have to work together.
Exactly.
We don't have to be friends with everybody. You just work together.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the situation is. I'm sure we'll get a lot more information over the next couple of days. Easy to say, oh, more CM Punk drama. That's what it is. Did he start it? Who knows? Was it something that could have been avoided? No idea. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes and how this plays out.
It is interesting, and people have pointed this out. I've seen on social media here in chat that Tony Khan booked in consecutive matches. Jack Perry.
Yeah.
CM Punk, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and the Young Bucks. Those were the last match of 0 Hour, the first 3 matches of the main card.
Yeah. So if you're trying to, avoid confrontation,
trying to stir the pot, mission accomplished.
That's probably a good way to do it. Yeah.
I know.
There was also a cameo of sorts. Mercedes Moné was present, and they did not. They showed her early on in the card. Did not show her. In the 0 Hour. Did not show her during the women's match, but did show her during the acclaimed House of Black match.
Well, the commentary did mention Mercedes at some point in the women's match, I believe.
Yeah.
Be at the end after Saraya won.
I think it was at the end when she was there. Yeah.
But didn't show Mercedes. But during the acclaim match,
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I suggested that maybe at All Out you could do House of Black along with Julia versus the Acclaim with Mercedes Moné. I could see that being a really fun team and her having a lot of fun with the Acclaimed and maybe testing the waters as to, well, do I really want to be in a company that gave 8 minutes and 50 seconds out of a 4+ hour pay-per-view given the 0 Hour stuff.
Yeah.
Statlander wasn't there to defend the TBS title. It was 8 minutes and 50 seconds. I have no idea if that's like the shortest match on the card.
I would be surprised if it wasn't.
It's certainly nowhere near the longest, that's for sure.
No. And well, let's talk about that match now because Saraya made her entrance with her family. Got the win by pinning Toni Storm, and the match was way shorter than it should have been.
Yeah,
you give them 15 minutes. They endeavored to tell a story, and I thought a fairly compelling one during the match. I thought there was a whole lot of really interesting creative spots during the match, and those spots played into the story being told. I just wanted more.
Yeah, I know.
Give us more. And it ended somewhat abruptly. I like the finish of it where Shida and Britt are too wrapped up in what they're doing to notice that Saraya hits Toni Storm with her finish. I thought that was really, really well done. Because then you're setting up two stories coming out of this.
It was the shortest of the main card. The 2 pre-show matches were slightly shorter. The Ring of Honor tag title match was a minute shorter. And then Hook, Jack Perry was 30 seconds shorter. But otherwise, it was by far the shortest match of the main card. And it's not even close,
Yeah, I would think it would be.
So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into it because like each, there's a lot going on up and down the card.
Yes,
there is. There's kind of a mini story for like, pretty much everything that was going on. So we can just go ahead and dive into it.
Sure. Show opened up, 0 Hour opened up, I should say, with a Ring of Honor tag team title bout. Aussie Open defending against Adam Cole, MJF, better than you, baby. So it seemed like this match was going to kind of be the setup for what to expect in the main event. If better than you, baby, were to lose either because of some sort of injury angle or the Kingdom or Roderick Strong interfering to help Aussie Open win, it seemed like, all right, we're setting up especially more so for a turn in the main event. That didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
It was actually a clean double clothesline. MJF and Adam Cole get the win.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's either, okay, main event, are they going to somehow come out of the main event with no turn, or are they going to be in a position where they're tag champions while also feuding?
Right. Yeah. And we just got a straight up clean win. And we got a kangaroo kick, which honestly I marked out over huge because kangaroo kicks, this is kind of difficult to do, but MJF executed it perfectly. I was pretty impressed by that. MJF and Adam Cole get the double clothesline on Fletcher, get the win with that. After that, that's when we see Mercedes Moné in the crowd, and we're on to Hook versus Jack Perry, which I thought, because of FTW rules, Jack Perry rolled up in a limousine and they proceeded to fight all on top of the limousine.
The spot where Hook, which happened after Jack Perry's like, hey, real glass, cry me a river. Hook hit a perfect plex on Jungle Boy on Jack Perry on the windshield.
Yeah.
So that left Perry's elbow all cut up.
Yeah.
It was a fun bout. Went all over the place. Eventually made its way back in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Perry hits a Liger bomb, gets a 2 there, and sets up a trash can on Hook. He goes for a moonsault. Hook gets out of the way, hits him with the trash can, some cross faces, red rum, and then Jack Perry taps out. But this is a match where Jack Perry had the upper hand for a vast majority of it. There'd be bits where Hook would get some hope spots, but Jack Perry would always seem to find a way to overcome, maintain the advantage. At the end, couldn't withstand the red rum.
And of course, it was during this match when the Jack Perry was slammed on the limo glass that he said, it's real glass. Cry me a river. Well, can you please demonstrate? Because some people have pointed out, I think accurately, Punk's a good-looking guy. You're a good-looking guy. You kind of have similar features. Can you please replicate what you think CM Punk's reaction was when he heard, I'll be Jack Perry, and I say, real glass, cry me a river? What's the reaction? Wow. Great stuff right there. Great stuff. How about this? What if he did this? So he's standing there, not, this is collaborative effort now.
Yeah.
He's standing there. Yeah. He's got FTR Bald and FTR Gun next to him.
Okay, good.
I love, sometimes I just throw a grenade at you and just go,
I know.
Takes a second. So he's got Bald and Gun with him.
Uh-huh.
And he says, feels like he's sticking it to me a little bit.
I know. It's like, how's this kid going to learn? I'm the leader around here.
Dak says, might be sticking it to you.
Yeah,
could be sticking it to you.
I think he's sticking it to you.
By the way, we've got over 1,200 people watching our review right now. Welcome, everybody. Look,
hi, everybody.
You just do us a solid. If you're new to the channel, if you're not subbed yet, we're trying to get to one. We're trying to get to 190. I don't care about the likes. I just want the subs.
But the likes might help lead us down the road to 198,000.
We're trying to get to 197,500. If everybody that's here that's not subbed to the channel, if you could just hit that sub button, and yes, as Larson's saying, hit that thumbs up, that like, that would be very much appreciated. Before we continue on to the main show, Mason Stukey here has a super chat, says, how long can MJF versus Cole go? Does it have legs to main event Full Gear? How much more will they, won't they? Can they do without it getting stale? I'd say Full Gear is probably, I could see that as being where the blood feud pays off, because
Yeah.
I mean, if he is to be believed, and I understand it's wrestling, you don't take wrestlers at their word. MJF, his contract is coming up, and I don't know if Tony Khan is silly enough to be like, okay, well, I also think that the story naturally concludes with Cole winning the title. That's gotta be the thing at this point.
Feels like the thing. Yeah. I mean, by Full Gear, that'll be one whole year that MJF's had the belt.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It seems like, and this isn't always the case, but it seems like when whoever wins the title, at least they'll kind of get to the point where it's like, oh, is this person going to have the title longer than the previous person? I know that happened with Hangman, but I think every other title reign, the title reign that followed was longer than the one that preceded it.
Right now, he's at like 4
Number
days
2, right?
over 4 days over Mox's reign, and he's number 2 behind Kenny, which I think Kenny's like 3. I just had it
300 something.
This 3 something. So yeah, I could see that being the case.
It was a little bit short of a year. Yeah.
We also have a new channel member here, Steve Kuharski, for 2 months now, says thank you, Bray. The TJR says, what up, Oos? Miss super chatting you guys. Well, thank you so much for your super chat.
Yes, thank you.
WS Fletcher says FTR bald and FTR blinky. Thank you, WS Fletcher. Appreciate it. And yeah, if you become a channel member here at Going In Raw, you get access to our bonus shows every week. Once a week, we do a bonus show. We have our huge predictions challenge, which right now the Elite 0456, I think, is in the lead.
0356.
That too. And we are ways off. And then, of course, you get access to the question threads. I'm not going to do a question threads for this review right here. We'll bring those back tomorrow for the Monday show.
Indeed.
Because this is going to be a longer review anyways. So yeah, there's all that. Become a member, or you can go to patreon.com/Steven Larson and become a channel, a Friendo Club member there as well. The first match of the main card was Samoa Joe versus CM Punk, moments after CM Punk evidently choked out Jack Perry, allegedly.
Or punched him. Allegedly.
Or did nothing to him, if Miro is to be believed.
Yeah.
In any event, this was a really awesome match because it featured mostly Samoa Joe beating the shit out of CM Punk. And at one point, he even swung him through the announce table. There was they set up the sort of boxy announce table, and they had like a really flimsy front panel area. And he just swung Punk right through that. Punk in there, he started bleeding. Man, I thought that was an awesome spot. I thought Punk coming out doing the slingshot thing over the top, and Joe doing the move out of the way thing.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe is a treasure.
Absolutely.
He's an amazing wrestler. So much fun to watch this match.
Yeah, the way Joe was playing to the crowd too, and Punk, as usual, was getting a fairly, mixed response from the crowd.
Yeah.
And there's a good portion of the crowd behind Joe to get the win.
Sure. Yeah.
And Joe was really having a blast, just really playing up to the crowd and doing things to get them involved in the match. It was tons of fun.
Egging on the crowd. The crowd was phenomenal, by the way. We should also talk a little bit about the spectacle of 80,000 plus.
Yes.
It looked big, it looked epic. It looked grand. I thought that, and for the most part, with the exception of Stadium Stampede, which I don't know that there is a producer out there or a television director out there, sports director out there who can properly capture Stadium Stampede. That is a mess of a match. You have to expect a mess of a production, but otherwise, production-wise, they did a killer job, and the stadium looked like $1 million.
It really did. At one point, Punk is playing up the heel stuff. He sets up for a 5-knuckle shuffle on Joe. Of course, preceded that with the belly to back, all that, and all the stuff Cena usually does. Instead, starts doing the Hogan.
He does the Hogan brothers.
Listening to the crowd, drops a leg. Joe kicks out at 1. Joe ain't having it with Punk's antics here.
Nope.
Not happy. So he gets up and he starts hitting Punk with a bunch of shots. Power slam, gets a 2 count. And then he hits a power bomb, follows with STF. Punk gets out of that, hits a kick to Joe's head, and then Punk brings Joe to the middle of the ring and puts him in a spinning toe hold. Shout out to Terry Funk.
Mm-hmm.
So then Joe counters that with a cover. Punk goes for a knee in the quarter, but instead Joe responds with Uranagi. Then Joe lifts up Punk in the corner looking for a muscle buster. Instead, though, Punk reverses all that into a Pepsi plunge to get the win.
Yeah, Pepsi plunge for the win here. You know, Punk, I was curious to know if Punk and Joe were going to try to do a redo on the GTS that a lot of people mocked on Collision because it wasn't the prettiest one in the world. But no, you know what? The Pepsi plunge. I kind of wondered. Let me ask you this: was the crowd response to the finish a tad like not explosive? Like, I don't necessarily, like, usually just when somebody wins a match in general, it's like, oh my God, the match is over. And I wonder if it was maybe because he doesn't use the Pepsi plunge often. That maybe they're like, wait, totally. What? Really? That was a finish?
Yeah. No, and I wonder part of the Pepsi plunge thing was reference to the Ring of Honor days. I think that was Punk's finish.
Right. Yeah. The Ring of Honor, style.
Track jacket.
Yeah.
Or at least his finish for part of his tenured Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a move he doesn't really, I think we've seen him use it once in AEW.
I think just once, yeah.
And even when he used it the previous time, he didn't win with it. So, maybe it was that GTS on Collision the other week was like, feels like, no, we'll try something else here.
I'll be honest, it's probably for the best. Like that dude, and I'm going to say this knowing full well I'm the exact same age as CM Punk. My back is messed up from basketball the other day. He puts in a lot more physical work than he does on a day-to-day basis than I ever do. That's for sure. But lifting that much weight up on your shoulders and then just like swinging it up, it's going to do a number on you. It's probably best not to do the GTS in that situation. And I like that. The history of Punk and Joe go back to Ring of Honor. And like you said, that was like one of his primary moves back then. So I like that as a match finish. I thought it was a really, really fun booked match. I thought both guys did a great job here.
Absolutely. Joe's the best. Next up, we got a trios bout. The Golden Elite, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and Kota Ibushi taking on Bang Bang Gang members, Juice Robinson, Jay White, and Takeshita. So we knew one way or the other this match was going to motivate Kenny versus Takeshita going on at All Out.
Yeah.
That was a certainty. And thought had crossed my mind, well, maybe Takeshita pins Kenny here, and that's what motivates it. And I was like, nah, there's 5 other ways they can do it. And the Golden Elite will get the win here in front of the crowd. Nah. Takeshita rolling up Kenny to get the win, just directly motivated.
It was a really good roll up, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I did not think this was going to happen at all. And I'll be honest with you. Like, we got a couple of these misfires on our predictions. I'm fine with that. I know. I'm trying to downplay it. But I'm down with that. I like a bit of a swerve. You have this absolute dream team of Hangman Kenny and Kota Ibushi. And then on the other side, you got Bang Bang Gang, who I love. They're like my favorite iteration of Bullet Club. But they eat losses. They're fine eating losses. Yeah. A lot of really awesome moments here between especially Jay and Kota Ibushi, who obviously have a lot of history.
Yeah.
Jay White is so much fun to watch in the ring, as is Kota Ibushi. But yeah, no, I'll be honest. I was surprised that that's how they're motivating the All Out match. Not upset with it. I thought, ever since Takeshita had his turn and joined Callis as part of the family, he was always fun to watch in the ring. There's that added aggression that he brings now that is just so, you cannot take your eyes off this guy when he's in the ring. He is so much gosh darn fun to watch, dude.
He is really good. He's a hell of an athlete. He's one of the more explosive wrestlers they have in the company. He's really good.
Absolutely,
he's really good.
He is, yeah.
So Bang Bang Gang didn't come to the match by themselves. No card blade, unfortunately, but the guns were.
Yeah, boo on that one.
So down towards the end, Hangman's looking for a buckshot. Guns distract him. He fights them off. And rather than go for the buckshot again, he takes out the guns with the moonsault to the floor. So he looks for it on Jay. Instead, Jay hits him with a half and half suplex. That was a really well done spot. And then Kota it gets a DDT, but then Kenny takes out Takeshita. So that Ibushi drops Takeshita, but then hits a jumping knee from Takeshita in response. Page with a buckshot to the back of Takeshita. So then Jay gets in. He eats a V-trigger from both Takeshita and Jay eat feed triggers from Kenny, but then Takeshita rolls up Kenny out of nowhere to get the W.
That is correct. Yeah. No, I thought that was a phenomenal match. I'm looking forward to Kenny and Takeshita. I think that's going to be really, really good stuff next weekend. Julio Rangel here with the super chat says, been a fan of yours from all the way back in the Machinima 10 for the win days. That was a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
Says, you guys are the best wrestling channel, hands down, no contest. Thanks for all the good times. Give me more kickboxer glass fist spots. We're going to talk about that when we talk about Stadium Stampede, of course. And then Nick Storm review here with the JR quote. Why is everything golden? Man, let me ask you this. Why is everything golden? Man, oh man. So anyways, after that we had FTR versus the Young Bucks. Man, this is the match. I had no idea, no clue how this was going to play out. FTR's won 1 against the Bucks. Bucks have won 1 against FTR. It's the rubber match for the AEW tag titles. Larson, this for me was match of the night, and it's not even close.
Yeah, it was really good.
MJF Adam Cole was close, but this one, especially with how smooth that finish was, oh my God, this was good.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, as we were getting closer to the show, I think there was an interview with the Young Bucks where I don't remember if it was Matt or Nick said something along the lines of, at this juncture, we're not worried about our legacy so much.
Mm-hmm.
We're just worried about stealing the show. And I read that, I was like, oh, it's not looking good for the Young Bucks then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, FTR got the win.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
In a really good, really competitive match, we saw FTR employ a BTE trigger, FTR trigger. Cash went for that 450 again, like he did in one of the previous matches. Missed that. All the references they were doing to each other's work and moves was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. There were multiple times where you started to pay out the prediction and they kicked out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how many swerves there were in this match. And I like that about, in general, the All-In card. Like, we saw that a lot in the Jericho Ospreay match as well.
Yeah.
I love the trope of, if it's your WrestleMania, if it's your big deal, if it's your huge match, then you drop the other guy with your finish and you kick out of their finish like multiple times, like each opponent gets to do that a couple times. I love that stuff. It makes it feel like they're really digging down deep to get this win. And we saw that here in FTR versus the Bucks. Man, I'd have to go back and revisit their other matches or whatever, but this match was absolutely phenomenal.
So apparently Tony Khan is taken to the desk at the media scrum and confirmed. This socks waving cat here has the quote. Yes, there was an incident backstage before the show started. Can't elaborate further other than we are investigating and handling the situation.
Oh, boy.
That's all he's going to say about it. So back to Young Bucks FTR. So the Young Bucks are looking for a BTE trigger. Dax ducks that, so the Young Bucks, bash each other's knees.
Bash knees, yeah.
So then Cash, with a crazy amount of momentum here, hits a spear on Nick that sends them both through the ropes. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So then Cash tags in. FTR hit the FTR trigger, and then a shatter machine. So when you think the match is over, no, Matt kicks out.
Mm-hmm.
So Cash heads out, goes for a springboard 450 as Dax hits the super kick on Matt. Nick and Dax spill the floor. Cash misses the 450. Matt hits him with a super kick to get a 2. Then Nick tags in. They hit Cash with the BTE trigger, but Cash kicks out of that. So Dax is like checking on Cash, and then turns into a shatter machine. Another BTE trigger. Cash kicks out again.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bucks are set up for a Meltzer driver on Cash, but then instead Nick ends up springboarding because Dax gets in the ring right into a shatter machine to get FTR the win.
I can't tell you how athletic Nick has to be to springboard, land, but then spring right up into a shatter machine. It was a phenomenal finish. This was absolutely great. So afterwards, obviously FTR get the win here, and they extend their hand to try to get a handshake. The Bucks walk off instead. Is this unresolved? Do they do this again?
Best of 7.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying do 3 more matches. I'm saying self-contained.
Whoever gets to 4. Whoever gets to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like they did with the trios titles between the Elite and Death Triangle.
Yeah,
Best
yeah,
of 7.
yeah. Does this kicks off the best of 7, or they already count the 2 that
fresh.
are in the bag?
No, it starts fresh.
Oh, they don't even count this one.
Nope. Starting over. Reset button.
I'm cool with that. I could watch these two teams go at it all day long. I
know.
think they're terrific, man.
Oh,
Whoa.
Larson. Funko
MJF is at the scrum now.
Ah.
He just does shit in character, so nothing there.
Yeah.
After that, we had Stadium Stampede. What a mess.
It is. I mean, that's the nature of these matches or anarchy in the arena. This crazy stuff happens, and you and production has to try to follow as best they can.
You know what?
That's kind of it.
I will eat my words too, man, because Santana and Ortiz worked together in this match, Larson.
They did.
They worked together. They got in the ring together. At first, it looked like they weren't paying attention to each other, but they got in the ring together, tried some double team, tag team moves.
Apparently, they high-fived.
And they high-fived. You know what? I love that. And I don't think this team is going to last at all because I don't think one of these guys wants to be in the team. But for one night, we got to see Santana and Ortiz come together and do some stuff. And who knows, maybe this will be the thing that makes them reflect and say, hey, you know what? The tag team division right now, given that there's like also trios titles that some of the tag teams have moved over to, they never won the tag titles, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But to get them involved perhaps in the FTR Young Bucks rivalry, add LAX to that, nobody would say no to that. That'd be amazing.
Who would say no? Why would they say no? They wouldn't.
Well, Santana might, but nobody else.
Outside of Santana.
The fans would all say yes.
Fans, yes, absolutely would say 100% yes. What do you think of Blackpool Combat Club's gear? The entrance gear looked like they just got off a shift at the docks, took the train or the bus over to Wembley.
So you say the docks. What I saw was a nice, elegant coat.
Yeah.
Coming from Sotheby's. Where's Sotheby's? Is that in New York or is that London? I don't know.
I think that's London.
Is there a London version of Sotheby's? Okay,
Maybe,
they came from Sotheby's.
You think of like Piccadilly Circus. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. What's like the big store? Like Piccadilly Circus is like Times Square.
I don't know, man.
Harrods.
Yes.
Harrods.
Yes. Harrods. It is Harrods, yes. Well, it was like a petticoat type deal. Mm-hmm. That's why I thought. I said it looked kind of like they're longshoremen or something like that. Anyways,
fresh fish.
I'm not going to bother. Fishmongers.
If Mox was wearing the cap, then 1,000% you'd be right.
Knit cap, yes. Exactly. Exactly. Not going to go through everything in this match because there's this crazy stuff happening. There was glass. We'll get to I'll talk about the really awesome creative glass spot later on. Everybody bled. We had skewers involved. End up in Mox's head thanks to Penta. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. They fought up, I think, in one of the luxury boxes. It was all through the concourse, down into the stands, backstage somewhere.
Yeah. Mox in particular was going berserk here. This guy, number one, Pentagon, he was trying to shove the skewers into Pentagon's head. Pentagon got the upper hand. I mean, the dude has a mask. It's not going to work. And so he got them rammed right into Mox's head. Crowd gasps. He's just rolling around with all these skewers coming out of his head. Yeah. Eventually, he ends up taking a fork to Orange Cassidy's head. He was bleeding like crazy. Trent was eating so much offense.
That's what Trent does.
He was being put through tables, through ladders, being dumped off to the floor,
bleeding all over the place. But Sue came. Sue was there.
Sue showed up. She had a van and some cookies.
And more importantly, cookie trays that best friends could use as weapons.
Pentagon, it looked like he had been injured. He left. But actually, he just did a costume change. He came out as Red Pentagon.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get to the cool glass spot.
Yeah.
So at one point, Orange Cassidy escapes the Ricola bomb from Claudio and just starts hitting him with like 2 or 3. I think it was 3 orange punches. But Claudio kicks out. So Orange goes under the ring and grabs a bucket with a bottle inside and a roll of tape. Mm-hmm. So he gets in the ring and starts putting the tape on his hand, but not sticky side down, sticky side up.
Yeah.
And with the other hand, he takes the bottle, breaks it in the bucket, and like kickboxer style, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, starts putting the taped up fist in the bucket of broken glass and pulls it out, and the tape's all covered in glass now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's looking to hit Claudio with the orange punch, but with glass all over his hand. Instead, Mox intercepts and Mox grabs barbed wire board. Orange Cassidy hits Mox with the DDT on what's the glass that's on the floor on the mat, and then hits the orange punch to Claudio. Well, Eddie comes back from fighting all over the stadium. He's got blood dripping down his face. He's got a chair wrapped in barbed wire. So then he comes down to the ring. He hits Yuta Ortiz with it. Starts wailing away on Claudio's back. Mox stops him from hitting Claudio in the face. And then Claudio rolls up Eddie, gets a 2 count. Well, then Eddie gets up, starts doling out back fists to Claudio and Mox. Eddie spears Mox through a table with some barbed wire on it, and then Orange hits the orange punch with the glass on the fist on Claudio to get the win. So best friends Penta and Eddie get the W here. Kind of a surprising outcome. Again, I thought Blackpool Combat Club would get the win here, and they have been teasing Mox and Orange for the international title for a while.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that would motivate it. But
yeah, no. Again, yeah, like you said, surprising outcome, but yeah, no, they just threw a little swerve at us, and I thought this was an awesome, messy, grotesque, but really fun match. Which one should, if we do? Let me ask you this: if we do like a special watch along of Kickboxer or Bloodsport?
Oh, Bloodsport's great.
That off immediately, you say Bloodsport. All right, we need to rein.
Kickboxer's not bad, but I always thought Bloodsport was a better movie.
Maybe I've never seen either movie.
Oh, really?
Never. No.
Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't seen either of them in probably.
We should do like a watch along thing, dude.
25, 30 years. But I remember Bloodsport
like
being a better movie.
Yeah, we should do like a watch along thing.
Okay.
Maybe if we get to 197,999.
And then we'll do that, the watch along. I mean, that'll push us over the edge.
And then, yeah, but then with our luck, like 5 minutes before we go live, it'll already happen.
Well,
Yeah,
it'll be a sub purge, and we'll lose like 500.
Yeah, even better. Yeah, the sub purge. After that, we had the AEW Women's World Title being defended by Hikaru Shida versus Toni Storm. It was a terrific new, very appropriate video package. I'm sorry, not video package. It's sort of a Tron of like it. She looks like an old black and white movie star.
Toni Storm's video package is amazing.
It's fantastic.
It's so good.
Saraya, however, got the win entrance. Should have seen this one come. Well, I did see this one. This is actually the one that I got right. She had her entire family with her, and they were playing Queen's "We Will Rock You," and it was pretty awesome for her. The Young Bucks earlier had done sort of like a bootleg version of Queen with like their own.
They had the Freddie
lyrics.
Mercury gear, yeah.
And they had Freddie Mercury gear, yeah. So maybe, again, communicate. But no, I thought it was awesome for Saraya. And then, of course, her and Toni Storm, hey, they start out on the same page. But things quickly go south when Toni Storm accidentally punches Saraya's mom in the face.
Yeah. They tease a bit of dissension between them because they're working together. Toni hits a hip attack. And then they both try to go for the pin at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's where things start getting a little tense. But yeah, for sure, once they're down on the floor and Saraya's mom is holding Britt up, Toni rears back to try to punch her, and then Britt gets out of the way, so she decks Saraya's mom, and then Saraya's like, all right, that's it, done. This is over.
Yeah.
The Outcasts are over. So it's getting really chippy between them. And at one point, Ruby Soho comes to the ring to try to cool things down. Mm-hmm. Toni slaps her, and Ruby's like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. So then Saraya takes out Toni. Britt hits a neck breaker on Shida, and then Toni kicks Britt. And then Britt falls on Saraya. Sorry, it's the other way around. Britt kicks Toni. Toni falls on Saraya. Saraya kicks out, and Saraya's like, what the heck? Why are you trying to cover me to win this?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So then Saraya locks a submission on Britt. I don't know, they call it in AEW, used to be called Page Tap Out in WWE. Mm-hmm. And then Britt gets in the ring and hits Toni with a stomp. Yeah, that was a really cool spot.
It was awesome.
So then Britt covers Toni, gets a 2 there. Britt looks for the lockjaw on Shida, but Shida, it's the simplest thing. Just keep your mouth closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, yeah.
She did the Eddie Kingston thing where he's dropping a promo.
Hey, listen, yeah. Hey,
like this. But that's what you got to do to keep the hand out of the mouth.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Then, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Nobody else does that.
Yeah, I know. It's the first time we see someone just like, oh, you want to put the lockjaw on me? Guess what? Keep the mouth shut.
I'm going to lock my jaw.
Yeah, exactly. So then Britt's constantly trying to angle to get the lockjaw in, and then Sheeta tries for a roll up, but like Britt reverses that to try to get the lockjaw in again. And while that's happening, Saraya gets in, Tony gets in, and Saraya spray paints Tony in the face, and then hits her with her finish to get the win.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously this is probably going to build to next weekend, all that. You think Saraya's going to put that title on the line against Tony Storm? Seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of
sense. It's only a week away. Are they just going to do the TBS title next week?
Oh God, I hope not.
They're going to do that. Might be a fatal 4-way too. Saraya celebrates big time. As you mentioned, they had mentioned Mercedes Moné at that point. They didn't show her. And then we had Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage versus Sting and Darby Allin in a Coffin match. They did a little video vignette prior to this of Sting cosplaying a serial killer Jack the Ripper, who murdered a bunch of innocent people back in a long time ago days.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's London, Jack the Ripper. Oh, it's a fun serial killer guy, I guess. Prince Balor or Prince Devitt, Finn Balor.
Finn Balor in NXT did the
did the same thing.
Yeah, he did.
Probably inappropriate, but whatever.
It is probably. I mean, they're starting to go more and more towards Joker Sting. Like at this particular little video package, like half his face paint was kind of Crow Sting, and the other one was very much Joker Sting. And by the time he came down the ring for the match, it was pretty much Joker Sting makeup.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sting, they gave him his Metallica theme back, Seek and Destroy. Hadn't heard that in a while. That was pretty neat. This is another match where Darby does all sorts of crazy shit, and you wonder why he can like walk afterwards.
Dude, the coffin drop to the coffin when Swerve got out of the way was ugly. That was horrible. It's absolutely crazy. You asked earlier, you think Will Ospreay hurts the next day? My bigger question is Darby. Like, I know Ospreay does tons of crazy shit, and by all accounts, that dude should be hurting, but man, Darby just launches himself. Crazy.
Yeah, because that was off the top rope down to the floor.
Yeah.
So there's an extra distance he has to travel. Nick Wayne makes an appearance at one point. Luchasaurus comes and choke slams him on Darby's skateboard on the floor and then carries him backstage. So later on, Christian low blows Sting with the bat. Swerve hits Sting with a double stomp. And then Christian and Swerve bring the coffin into the ring. So then Christian just starts throwing Darby all around the barricade as Swerve puts Sting in the coffin. So Swerve, really relishing the moment of putting Sting in the casket, picks up Sting's bat, spits on it, and puts it in. And he takes his time to walk around the back of the coffin to close the lid. But when he's doing that, Sting sticks the bat out so the coffin lid won't close. So Swerve pulls him out, slams into the casket. He's looking for a 450, misses that, so he just lands right on the coffin. Darby finally gets away from Christian ringside. Sting grabs Swerve and hits the Scorpion Death Drop on top of the casket, puts Swerve inside, and Swerve is like using his hands and his arms to try to keep Sting from closing the door. And then Darby coffin drops the lid onto Swerve. And pushes him in, except for some of his hair.
Some of his hair was out.
Some of Swerve's hair was out. I don't know if that should count as a win for Darby and Sting, but it does at the moment. Darby and Sting get the win.
Yep. Yeah. No, that was a ton of fun. That was just a ton of fun right there. Disappointed that Nick Wayne didn't make more of an impact here. I thought he was going to swerve Darby and Sting, but
give it time. Give it time. He's got beef with AR Fox. Give it time.
Sting and Darby, they don't lose matches when they're together.
No, they don't, especially coffin matches. I think Darby is 3-0, 4-0 in AEW.
After that, we had Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho yesterday at a Rev Pro show. Chris Jericho showed up under mask, then revealed himself after he hit Ospreay with a bunch of code breakers, which is pretty cool. Jericho also had Fozzy in attendance to sing Judas to the ring. Everybody sang along with that. And yeah, this match was just an absolute blast. This was so much fun between these two guys.
It was. Let's see what we got here. So, Will lays a flurry of strikes to Jericho. As Aubrey is not in a position to see it, Jericho hits Will with a low blow. Earlier on, Sammy hits Ospreay with Floyd the Bat while Ospreay's in the walls of Jericho. So then Jericho follows with the Judas effect. Will kicks out.
Mm-hmm.
So Jericho's looking for the walls of Jericho again, but instead Ospreay reverses that into a roll-up, gets a 2 there, hits him with a power bomb, gets another 2, hits a forearm, Stormbreaker. Jericho kicks out of the Stormbreaker. So then Will lowers the pad and points at Jericho, and Jericho gets to his knees, is telling him to hit me with this hidden blade on the chin, and gives him the middle finger. Well, Will obliges. Hidden blade of the chin, another Stormbreaker. Will Ospreay gets the W.
I appreciate you and I had talked about, okay, so how is Will going to hit this hidden blade on Jericho? Because this can be a brutal move.
It can.
And Jericho is older. He ain't going to take this shit full on. Will Ospreay saves that for the younger guys. And so instead of taking it blind, he say defiantly, give it to me on the chin. Yeah. And it's a lot easier to, make it look
to
like
roll with it if you can see it coming.
Exactly.
As opposed to if you don't know it's coming from behind, you might just
exactly. So after the match, Sammy checks on Jericho, and Chris just sort of pushes him away. Jericho turns his back and leaves the ring. I'm assuming that might be the all-out match for Jericho. Is Jericho versus Sammy Guevara? It seems to be the case.
Unless they want to, hold off on that till November for Full Gear. Who knows?
That could be. After that, Nigel McGuinness gets in the ring. He's jacked these days. Yeah. Probably going to end up within the next couple of months. He's probably going to end up back in the ring, man. I can tell you right now.
Hey, maybe he'll make his re-debut at Wembley next year.
Oh, that could be. That'd be huge. And he announced 81,035 ended up being the final number for attendance, setting a new worldwide record for paid attendance in pro wrestling. So congratulations to AEW for that one. And then we had the AEW Trios title match, the House of Black versus the Acclaimed, and the badass Billy Gunn, the House of Black, with some fancy white gear with gold trim. And Buddy brought a lantern to pay homage to Bray Wyatt, left it on the ramp, and off they were. The Acclaim come down with Billy Gunn, and we're off to the races. This was good stuff. It featured Julia getting hit with the scissors leg drop thing.
Scissor me timbers.
That's right. And you mentioned this during the match, but it's always a trip to see how big Billy Gunn is. Because Brody is supposed to be like this big dude, right? And compared to most people in AEW,
and he is. He's humongous.
He's a big guy, yeah. But it just illustrates just how big Billy Gunn is, because compared to Billy Gunn, Brody looks normal size,
I don't know if it's been a while since I've told this story, so there might be some new viewers here, so I'll mention it again. Very first episode of Raw I ever attended live was in Davis, California, at the event center there. And at one point, I was leaving, I don't know, get a snack, go to the bathroom or something. And I noticed there's security guards kind of lined up in front of somebody. And I look, and there's somebody on a payphone making a call. And it was Billy Gunn sitting in a chair. And sitting in a chair, he probably came up to my shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a humongous human being.
Yeah. I remember seeing him at StarCast one of the years we went.
Yeah.
And he walked by, and I was like, geez, that guy is huge.
Yeah.
But if you remember from WWE, he just looked sort of normal size, because that's how big they were in WWE.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were huge.
He's what, 6'6", probably 280?
And how old is he, like 55 or something like that?
He's like almost 60.
Jeez. It's impressive.
Yeah. Yep. So at one point, the Acclaimed and Billy are hitting a bunch of offense on Buddy, and we think, all right, match over. No. Hit him with a couple famoursers. Julia pulls Aubrey Edwards out of the ring. So the Malachi sneaks in and hits Billy with the End, formerly known as Black Mass. Billy kicks out of the End, not the end for badass Billy Gunn. So Malachi, he starts to panic. He's calling in Buddy and Brody like, hey, we got to finish this now. So they're looking for a Dante's Inferno on Billy. He just slips out because he's so humongous.
Yeah.
So then the Acclaimed, they get Buddy and Malachi out of the match, out of the ring. Bowens hits the Arrival. Caster hits a mic drop on Brody. Brody kicks out of that. And then Billy hits a famouser, another Arrival, another mic drop. And they all stack on top of Brody to get the win and become your new Trios champions.
Yep, correct. Yeah, and during this match, they showed Mercedes Moné. So, again, be kind of interesting. Get a 4-on-4. So yeah, after the match, House of Black, they get the titles. Good sportsmanship. Hand them over. And then, sorry, you didn't get this promo yet, right?
No, it did not.
Okay, so Bowen says, Daddy ass, we said we were going to bring the gold back. Here it is. He says, you came here as the badass, but we promised 81,000 people the biggest scissor party on earth. Wembley, throw them up, get loud, scissor me, daddy ass. And then, like, the entire place blows up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was great. Then we had our main event, MJF versus Adam Cole. As mentioned, they were...
Oh, that's a good point, actually. White Brownie says Mercedes still rocking the walking boot. So that match next week probably can't. Forgot, she's injured. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. This was May she got injured.
Oh, wow.
So 3 months ago.
Yeah. Did we ever get like a proper update on that?
No, I don't think so. Don't think so. About the exact nature of the injury, no, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. So again, this is a match where, for instance, this is one example of several, where MJF is like, he's literally standing on the announce table with Cole, and, and he says to himself, these are the things I got to do to win this match. And so he's looking for a tombstone on the announce table. Adam Cole can't bring himself to do it. Well, guess what? Adam Cole had no problem doing it. Mm-hmm. And throughout this match, it was seemingly always Adam Cole that was willing to push the limits of what they could do in order to gain the advantage and get the win. Up until the point where cheating was involved, and that's where both MJF and Adam Cole drew the line. Like, MJF would poke Adam Cole in the eyes, but he wouldn't do a move seemingly that'd be like, oh, this is potentially going to hurt him.
Right, exactly. Well, so the one instance where there seemed to be a difference between the two of them was the tombstone on the
I just mentioned that one
on the table.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But barring that, like, the Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF decided against it. Adam Cole, the title, decided against it.
Yeah.
Even with silly Roderick Strong there. Which, you know what? In retrospect, I'm glad. I'm legitimately curious where they're going to take the story. It is. I mean, the bottom line is MJF Adam Cole stuff. It's really good storytelling. It's just really good storytelling because it makes you wonder what's going to happen next with these two, and that's sort of what you want. If every major match or major thing becomes a pivotal story beat that makes you want more, then they're doing a good job with the storytelling.
Exactly. So at one point, they both look at each other. It's a bit of a stalemate, and they say double clothesline. And so they hit a double clothesline on each other. Mm-hmm. And they both fall with one arm draped over the other. And so Bryce goes down, counts the pinfall, and says double pin. It's a draw. And so as Justin Roberts is announcing that to the crowd, Cole snatches the mic from him and says, no freaking way, Max, 5 more minutes. Of course, reference to the Eliminator match they had to kick this whole thing off, where Cole tells MJF, give me 5 more minutes. I can beat you in 5 more minutes. And at the time, MJF back then said no, and that was that. Well, here MJF says, no, 5 minutes isn't enough. We're going to go until we get a winner in fucking Wembley.
That was awesome.
And so the match is restarted. They trade some roll-ups. MJF catches a super kick, and then Adam Cole wipes out Bryce Remsburg. They restart the match. Within 45 seconds, we have a ref bump.
Yeah.
So MJF smirks, and he goes to the ringside and grabs a chair. And then he throws it at Cole, trying to do the Eddie Guerrero bit. Well, they just start throwing the chair back and forth to each other. Until one time, MJF catches it, and Adam Cole just bumps.
Yeah.
So MJF is holding the chair, and Adam Cole's selling like MJF hit him with it. Well, MJF goes, okay. He opens the chair up, wraps it around his head, and lays on the mat in time for Bryce to get up. And Bryce is like, what is this? What's going on?
Cole's like, he's just fooling you. I didn't do anything. He's just fooling you.
So while Cole is arguing with Bryce Remsburg, the ref, MJF rolls him up, gets a 2. MJF hits a heat seeker, gets another 2 count with that. So now they're on the apron. MJF is going for a German suplex on the apron, but Cole blocks it and hits a straight jacket suplex on the apron, followed with the Panama Sunrise on the floor. He has to, drag MJF and pick him up, put him back in the ring. Covers him, gets a 2 count. And so Cole is in the corner, setting up for another Panama Sunrise, but MJF pulls Bryce Remsburg in the way. So Bryce Remsburg, the referee, eats the Panama Sunrise.
The timing on that was impeccable. It was
because
it didn't look like, Cole could have stopped himself. He was mid coming down when the switch happened. It was great.
Yeah. So then we get a ref bump. Ref's out. It's a destroyer. Should be a finisher. So he's selling it like a finisher. So MJF reaches in his trunks and gets the Dynamite Diamond ring while Cole's like, gosh, I had a chance. And I hit the ref with my move instead. And so he's holding it, MJF, and is like, I can't do it. And he puts it back in his trunks while Cole is like pleading with Bryce to get up. So then Roderick Strong runs the ring. He low blows MJF as Adam Cole looks on. And Cole's like, what are you doing, Roddy? What are you doing? And Strong's like, I'm helping you. I'm your real best friend. Win this match. So Cole hits the Panama Sunrise, follows with the boom. He covers MJF. And as I like this, because you don't get this very often when you have a ref bump. As Adam Cole is going over to make the cover, he's yelling at Bryce to get up.
Yeah. Bryce, get up.
Wake up. And so eventually Bryce starts to stir. The crowd is counting what would be the pinfall. I think they get to 7 or 8, maybe even 9.
Yeah.
Bryce finally gets over, and it's the absolute slowest count you can imagine.
Yeah.
His hand hits the mat, and he just collapses for a second. Counts the 2.
Another one.
Max kicks out before the 3. So Bryce Remsburg is the ref still selling. The Destroyer, Roderick Strong throws AEW title in the ring. And again, telling him, I'm your real best friend. Beat him. Use that to beat him. So Adam Cole's thinking about it. He's at this point, he's the only one with the Better Than You Baby shirt still on, because earlier on took it off MJF. He takes his shirt off, grabs a belt. He's about to hit him with it, but can't bring himself to do it. So Roddy walks out. Cole screaming at him. MJF takes advantage of that, rolls up Adam Cole to get the win.
Yeah. You know, I mean, and in retrospect, I'm glad my silly fantasy book didn't play out, because Roderick Strong and Bennett and Taven just seem so like, I don't know, sort of B-level faction for Adam Cole to lead. But no, I don't know. I'm firmly in favor of seeing where this story is going to go next, how they're going to keep it fresh. They did a great job referencing all the earlier stuff in this match. And to build on that, I think has been is going to be a really impressive thing, and I think they're probably going to do a good job of it. And I could see this playing out for a couple more months till we get the full gear.
Definitely. So Cole's in the corner. He's shocked. He's beside himself. He's starting to tear up. So MJF gets up and notices, and so he goes over to him. And says, "Hey, everybody loves you. I lucked into that win.
Yeah.
I got lucky." And he goes, "Here, watch this." He goes to the timekeeper area, gets their Ring of Honor tag titles, and brings them in the ring. And says, "Hey, we still have this, buddy. We're still tag champs." Cole takes his title, just throws it out of the ring.
Oh yeah.
And MJF gets up and goes, "Oh, you weren't really my friend this entire time. Yeah. You were doing this to get a shot at the title." And he says, "Well, I don't even want this belt. Take it." And he says, "Go ahead, do it." And he turns around, puts his arms out like Cole did a few weeks back, and tells Adam Cole to take the title and hit him in the back with it. Roderick Strong apparently sprints back to the ring. He gets on the apron just to yell at Adam Cole, "Do it." Yeah. Hit him with it.
Yeah.
And so Cole picks it up and it's like saying something along the lines of, "I should have won this. This should be mine right now."
Yeah.
And then, but can't bring himself to hit him. MJF with the title, drops it. MJF turns around, smiles, goes, "You didn't do it?
You didn't do it."
So they rush towards each other. Hugs. There's a hug. At that point, Roddy just sulked back up the ramp.
Right.
Met there by the Kingdom. Yeah. They're watching on, and then a bunch of pyro goes off, and they announce that All In's return to London next year.
Yeah. No, I thought hell of a way to finish it. And it's like, okay, how do you send this crowd home happy? How do you send 81,000 people home happy? And it's like they kind of did that. They did a good job doing that. So hats off to AEW Creative for putting that one together.
Yeah, it was a fun show.
Oh man, it was a fun show, but it was a long show, and our review is done now. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us once again. We're trying to get to 197,500. So if you could just do what you can to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. In the audio realm, we still love you. Leave us a rating, review, or a comment. That goes a long way as well.
Steve, I got to say, your lobbying for additional subs has produced some results.
What are we at?
We're only 102 away from the goal.
Hey, look at that. All right, we're only 102 subs away. Let's try to get there, everybody. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back all this week with our normal programming.
Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday, right?
Tomorrow's Monday. We're back at it. for our SmackDown and what's left of Collision that we didn't, already sort of cover.
Yeah, I know. It might be a quick run through of Collision, but
probably a quick run through. Anyways, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll see you.